Hello, weirdos! Welcome back to my channel. My name is EmmaAbe, and I have another book haul for you all. If you guys are unfamiliar, I talk about books here on this channel because, of course, I do. The theme behind this book haul, because y'all know I like to do themes to my book hauls, it's just going to be books that I got in the fall. So let's start off with the book that I actually got the most recently, and that is The Super Age. This is Decoding Our Demographic Destiny. This is by Bradley Schuberman. Depending on when this comes out, this is not out yet. This comes out, I think, January 18th. I was sent this book by a publisher, full disclosure. They're not paying me anything. I thought this was really cool and I wanted to showcase it. And it's nonfiction, and the back cover says, societies all over the world are getting older, the result of the fact that we are living longer and having fewer children. At some point in the near future, much of the beloved world will have at least 20% of their national populations over the age of 65. The author calls this the super age. Today, Italy, Japan, and Germany have reached the super age. Another 10 countries went over the tipping point in 2020. 35 countries will be a part of this club by the end of the decade. This seismic shift in the population can portend a period of tremendous growth and opportunity, or leave swaths of the population behind. And then there's more on the back. If we don't prepare for the changes to come, we face economic stagnation, increased isolations of at-risk population, and accelerated decline of rural communities. Instead, we can now harness the benefits of the super age, extend healthier lives, more generational cooperation at work and home, and new markets and products to explore. The choice is ours to make. So that is essentially what the super age deals about. It deals with these dramatic population shifts that we're all gonna go through eventually. I think it is really interesting. And yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on this. I'm probably gonna start reading this in January. So that's this one. I think as of this time, at this filming, that this does not have an audiobook, but I think eventually it will have an audiobook, but my word is not law. The next book is a book that I walked 6 miles to buy. Yes, 6 miles, because I'm crazy. And that is Iron Widow by Xiranjie Zhao. I've read this. I fucking love this. It is wonderful. It is great. It is queer in ways that I'm excited to explore. And this is a sci-fi retelling of the only female emperor in Chinese history, Wu Zetian. She lived during the Tang Dynasty, asterisk, because she renamed it from the Tang Dynasty, and then the people after her renamed it to the Tang Dynasty. Anyway, and I really liked this. Wu Zetian is terrifying, but I love her. She's horrible, and I love her. This does have an audiobook, and the audiobook is pretty good. This next set of books is books that I got from a bookstore called the Ohio Bookstore in Cincinnati. It was a used bookstore. This first book that I got there is A Brief History of the Human Race. This is by Michael Cook. It's just what it says on the tin, but it also takes it from an Islamic point of view. And I think that that would be really interesting to look at how the world changes, but from the Islamic point of view. Because in the Islamic world, it didn't play out the same way as it did in Europe. So there were dark ages, but they were different than the dark ages in Europe. And so I think that it'd be very interesting to look at it from this perspective. The next book I got is Age of Ambition, Chasing Fortune, Truth, and Faith in the New China by Evan Osnos. And Evan Osnos is a Beijing correspondent. He basically talks exactly about that. He talks about how China is changing at this very rapid rate and how people are dealing with this. This does have an audiobook, and yeah, I just thought it was something that would be really interesting. The next book I got is Yellow Woman and the Beauty of the Spirit. This is Essays Native American Life Today by Leslie Marmon Silko. And I intended to read this for the Indigathon. I just never got around to it. November is like the literally craziest time in the fall because of the school year wrapping up. So I do want to get to this at some point. It's exactly what it says on the tin. It's literally the author's perspective on what it is like to be a Native American today. The next book is In the Shadow of the Sword. This is by Tom Holland, and this is very similar to the other book I got because it's like a history of the ancient world. The subtitle is The Battle for Global Empire and the End of the Ancient World. This is basically the transition between ancient and like more modern history. But again, it's told in like the Islamic point of view. Very, very interesting. And I've been super into books recently that are about the Islamic world. I haven't read any of them yet, but I've been buying a lot of them because I've been wanting to hear different perspectives of history from different places. This next set of books I got from a bookstore right by my apartment. It's called like Doofenpfeffers. I don't know what it's called. Some German bookstore. It's also a used bookstore, and I really like that place. I go there occasionally. And the first book I got there was Treason by the Book. This is by Jonathan D. Spence. Jonathan D. Spence writes a lot of different books on China. You can't see it, but he wrote The Search for Modern China, which I have on my bookshelves down there. So this does not have an audiobook, and this tells the story of this plot to overthrow the emperor of the time. And this is more modern history because Manchuria was the people who were running China were from Manchuria. So I thought that this would be an interesting, it's not ancient history, it's more recent Chinese history, but it is not Chinese history that it's like from the past 100 years, 150 years. So yeah, that is this book, and I'm excited to read more about that. The next book is The Rise and Fall of Alexandria, Birthplace of the Modern World. This is by Justin Pollard and Howard Reed, and it is just what it says on the tin. It is history of Alexandria. It makes me so sad to hear about like the burning of the library in Alexandria because there was so much knowledge there that was just lost. And if we had not lost that knowledge, we probably would be ahead technology-wise, science-wise, medicine-wise by a couple hundred years. It's very sad. So I want to know more about this very, very famous city. Okay, the next book I got is Icebound, Doctor's Incredible Battle for Survival at the South Pole. This is by Dr. Jerry Neiselin with Marianne Volters. So I haven't looked too much into this like specific story, but I do know that the doctor here in this picture, she gets stranded in Antarctica, and this is a story of like how she got rescued and all of that. I don't know, there's just something about being trapped in either of the poles, so the Antarctic or the Arctic, that I find to be just really compelling and really interesting. And this does have an audiobook, so I'm really, really interested to see what is the story. The next book I got is War of the Whales. This is by Joshua Horowitz. So you'd think that this book would be like solely about whales, but it's not. It's actually about this underwater, like, how do they say it in here? So basically the Navy, the US Navy, did a bunch of different sound experiments on whales and dolphins for acoustic warfare. So they were using whale and dolphins to do war, or like to ready them for war. This is a book explaining how that was discovered and like what exactly was going on. I saw War of the Whales and I was like, I have to get this because that is just such a clever title and I like that. It's gonna deal with science because it's got whales in it, it's got oceanography, and it seems to me it's gonna be like this like nonfiction, like crime figuring things out. I'm not doing well with English today. It's okay. The last book that I got from that bookstore is Glass, A World History. This takes a look at the history of glass. This is by Alan McFarlane and Jerry Martin. It talks about why did some societies use glass primarily, why did others use porcelain and jade and other artifacts. And I just find books like this that take an object and discuss its history to be just endlessly fascinating. All right, there you go. That is the video for today. Sorry, it was kind of a little bit unhinged, or it felt unhinged, Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a awesome day, and I will see you next week. Bye!